Hi, Conor. Graham Thomas here from Sky Sports News.
Oh yeah,
Congratulations on the captaincy. Just tell me, what were your feelings on Saturday night, Conor? How do you feel now?
yeah, crazy couple of days. Really, I think. Firstly, we were, during the game when we saw Al kind of going off, holding his arm and shoulder, you kind of feared for the worst, but unfortunately that came true, and losing tips as well. I suppose the mood in camp on Saturday evening was a bit somber. Obviously lads delighted to get up and running and get a, for especially lads for playing for the Lions for the first time, getting a run out and getting a win was massively positive, but obviously a little bit of sadness lingering around the group because of the two boys. And yeah, it was a strange atmosphere. And then obviously Warren came up to me before we had our cap ceremony and asked did I want to take over as tour captain. And yeah, massive honor. Answered straight away, yes, it would be brilliant. And I think I've answered quite quickly because the lads, quite a few lads in this group, and the new setup of the group is really strong. We're really tight already. People are leading as players already themselves, so it's hopefully something that we can move into smoothly and carry on from where Al left us.
Was there any part of you, Conor, that thought, given all the difficulties of this tour, the restrictions, the curfews, all the rest of it, I don't need the extra weight of captaincy?
No, and like I said, I think the way the squad is set up, the way players are so comfortable around each other, and the way players are, we have a great coaching staff. That's absolutely sorted. But I think the players are driving this so well. You know what I mean? And there's players you can lean on. I mentioned it already. In terms of the leadership group, there's so many guys with such experience as captains and as leaders, whether it be leading by words or actions, they're littered across the squad. So in terms of extra pressure, I really don't see it as that at the moment. There might be a few extra commitments here or there. You'll have to think about things a little bit more and be across everything as you would be, really. So I've been talking to a few people I quite respect at home and abroad, and the reason Warren chose me was from what he's seen. So it's very important I remain myself and I continue to do what I've done. And we'll work really well as a leadership group. And yeah, it's hugely exciting. You know what I mean? After a few days of letting it settle and thinking about it, it's a huge honor.
You don't have much of a back catalogue as a captain, but you played under some pretty good ones. Who will you take your inspiration from?
Straight off the top of my head, I suppose Rory Best and Paul O'Connell would be two of the biggest captains I've played under. A good friend in my club, Peter O'Mahony, who has experience in this area too. So there's guys that, if things crop up or you're thinking of what to say or what not to say, it's just guys like that you can, thankfully, you can pick up the phone to them and run things by them. But saying that, going back to what I said, you're chosen because of what you do already, and I don't want to try and become someone different, try and force things that aren't that natural to you. So I think that's really important. I focus on that and hopefully lead by what I'm doing.
Did you have time for any conversation with alun-wynn, and did he give you any advice?
Briefly, obviously a lot was going on with Al on Saturday evening, but on Sunday morning I caught up with him for a couple of minutes, and it's what I just said. Is he said just be yourself, mate. You've been doing it all along over the past two tours. Just continue that. And he kind of gave me a pat on the shoulder and said he's full faith in me. And again, another guy who said he's at the end of the phone if anything crops up. And his words are really important to me. He's been brilliant for the first 2 weeks in setting the tone and training. Just by his actions in training, he was beating everyone to the next drill, and he was just being himself and the way he's led for years and years. So yeah, another guy that I can call on, hopefully.
And just lastly from me, Conor, you'll be the first Lions captain really of the modern era not to be backed by an army of travelling Lions fans. How challenging is that?
Yeah, especially being selected on tour. There was excitement, and then you thought about the the no fans being allowed, and now that there's definitely a lot more excitement within my family because of the captaincy thing too. So it made you think a little bit of how cool it would be to have the fans here, but there's far more important things going on outside this tour, and you got to respect that. And it would be lovely to have them there. I think most of, if not all, the players are very used to playing without fans, and we understand what it is. And it would be great, but it doesn't take away from how special the Lions is, how much of a challenge it is in the World Champions' backyard. So there's plenty of cause for motivation for us.
Thanks, Conor. Best of luck.
Cheers.
Hi, Conor. It's Andrew from TalkSport Radio. I'm just back on alun-wynn for a moment. As a group of players, how do you deal and sort of approach that whole situation? Do you go and speak to him after the game, or do you deliberately stay away because in the heart of hearts, there's nothing you can say to him that's going to make him feel better?
Yeah, I think that was definitely something that happened on Saturday evening. I suppose, the Welsh lads in particular know Al a lot better than us, and it would be the same for me if something like that happened. You probably want your own space for a while, and if you want to talk, you'll come over. Al made it, he was really good. He got up and presented the lads with their first caps, and put on a really brave face on Saturday evening, which was really admirable, given he had just gotten some pretty bad news. So it was a bit of a mix, you know what I mean? You can see from his point of view that he might not want to chat too much. No one's trying to make him feel better. It is what it is. It was a really unfortunate thing that happened, and if it was me, you deal with it in your own head over time. So I think lads were really respectful of him, but he was around the team room, he was chatting, he was he was enjoying the win and people getting off the mark with the Lions. So it was a bit of both. You kind of have to read the situation.
How much freedom are you going to get as captain? Because obviously there's an awful lot of structures that have been put in place already. Pretty much everything is laid down in front of you, isn't it?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I think the coaches have given all players the space and the ability to speak up and tweak and change things if we see a reason to do that. So we definitely have structures and systems that are already in place, and we as a playing group have been, especially in Jersey, working really hard on that, tweaking areas that we might see a little bit of room for improvement, or the coaches have been tweaking things that they might have had already set out before we even got together. So it's a live document, really, you know what I mean, our game plan. So it is open to change at times, but what we've done in Jersey and in a lot of parts against Japan on the weekend was really, really good. So it's just about carrying that forward. And I said at the start, the players are driving this as much as the coaches, which has really put me at ease in terms of my role.
Lots of people on Saturday evening after the announcement were saying, well, that's Conor Murray starting the test then. But in some ways, does it actually mean that you now have to work even harder because you don't want to be the captain that doesn't make the test match team?
Yeah, no, it doesn't mean it for a minute. I think that's completely separate. We've seen it before in Lions stores where captains haven't started, and that's why I feel really strongly that I got to remain myself and keep doing what I'm doing, because that's the aim is to be in contention for the test day squad and play in the test matches. That's what makes this whole tour so special. Having been on ones before, playing in the test is what it's all about, and that's what everyone's still trying to do. For not for a second, I think that's a given now. If anything, like you said, you want to really make sure you're on top of your game and you're playing as good as you can possibly play.
As a squad, as you were getting on the plane on Sunday evening, the South African government were announcing a 2-week level 4 lockdown. That means no gatherings, restaurants and schools closed, probably the biggie, no alcohol being sold. Has there been any discussion amongst the players about this? Has anyone said, is it right that we're here?
No, there hasn't, not yet. Obviously we were very aware of what's going on outside with the lockdown and things like that. But, they're the protocols and things that, we're here to, hopefully put a smile on people's faces, here and back at home. Even since we've been here, stopping the bus at traffic lights, we've people beeping at us, waving at us, smiling at us. So I think there's a good buzz around us being here. We're obviously very aware of the situation outside the hotel. We literally go from the hotel to the training ground. We're very much restricted in our movements as well. So no, not at the moment. It's again, it's a live document. Things can change so quickly, but we're here and very lucky to be able to do what we're doing, and very focused on putting on a show for people to get behind and support us.
Just finally from me, South Africa have named their team for the match against Georgia on Friday evening. As you'd expect, it's pretty strong. As a squad, will you sit down and watch it together?
Yeah, I'm sure we will. Yeah, we're here to play them in a three test series, so yeah, there'll be big interest in that. There's a feeling since we landed here in South Africa that it's time for kind of the serious stuff. So yeah, it'll all kick off now, and I'm sure if it's on the team room, there won't be many players not watching it there.
Thank you, Conor.
Cheers.
Conor, a big part of your job, I guess, is to keep your squad motivated. How difficult is that under the circumstances with so much going on off the field?
I don't think it is. I think you talk about the COVID stuff and the restrictions and not being able to move around as much, but and no fans, and I really don't think it takes away from the opportunity we have as a playing group. A test series against South Africa. We're very lucky to be able to do this, given what's going on outside our environment. And no, at the moment, the read on the mood in camp is a really positive one. You know what I mean? We're training really hard. We're really motivated. People, there's an excitement about the weekend. There's an excitement about landing into South Africa and getting up and running here, getting off on a positive note. So, motivation wise, like I said again at the start, there's so many experienced players here, and know how special this is, and are very, very aware of the opportunity that we have. So in terms of motivation, no, I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Is there an edge to training now, Conor? Robin McBride was saying you work closely alongside the forwards with their sessions. Is there an edge looking ahead now that you have arrived in South Africa?
Yeah, there is definitely. I think, Jersey for the 2 weeks or 10 days that we were there, we were figuring things out. There was, getting the game plan nailed down, learning the calls, all of that kind of carry on. And now that that's pretty much embedded in us, I think again, the seriousness of why we're here is going to take over, and there will be an edge to training. There'll be, the battle for match day places and match day squads is really up and running. There's going to be an edge. You can see it already in people's body language, just the way people are even preparing in the gym before we go out into the pitch. People are taking it really, really seriously. They're in their own zone. And then once we get on that pitch, it's no one holds back, and that's what you'd like to see, and it's certainly there.
Yeah, big vote of confidence for yourself to be named captain. What's the competition like with the other nines, Gareth and Ali? Are you helping each other out, I imagine, and trying to get the best out of each other?
Yeah, a big time. Yeah, it's been brilliant so far. I've played against Ali a good few times, and I know Gareth from the last tour. He came out. And there's a huge respect there between the three of us. I think we've been really open with each other in terms of calls, maybe calls we use with our clubs and our countries, kind of being open enough to share them. I think that's really important. And staying behind, doing a few extras with each other. I think we're all, going to play in the big games, but we're all trying to make each other better and push each other along. And I think that's going to be good for the squad. And yeah, you can see that in the other groups, the out halves or the centers. Everyone's kind of bought into this, and everyone understands that we need to help each other as much as we can. We don't want to be holding things back that might help the squad moving forward. So no, it's been great so far. I'm sure once we get closer to the big games, it'll heat up, but that's what you want. You definitely want that. You don't want to have it too laid back around each other. We're all here trying to get a jersey.
Thanks, Conor. That's all.
Conor, hi, it's Michael Corcoran here. Congratulations on the captaincy. Can I ask you just about alun-wynn Jones and people that you've taken over from? people say that captains lead by example. Now, given the fact that the last number of captains have been forwards, how does a scrum half lead by example on the pitch, given that you're not going to be hitting rucks or running around the place thumping fellas?
I hit the odd ruck.
Just the odd one.
Yeah, no, I think it's by example, I suppose. You know what I mean? Being a scrum half, like we said a minute ago, you know, having been around the forwards in their unit sessions, you know, you do tend to spend a lot of time with them. So you do spend an even amount of time with backs and forwards. So yeah, I think nothing changes for me. Again, just remain the same. Keep trying to lead by example about what you do on the pitch, and you know, you pick and choose your times to speak, and you know, when you do speak, you make sure you've thought about it, and the message is really clear. So yeah, I think if you overthink it, it'll start to bother you a lot. I think, you know, the reason why I was selected, why Warren asked me is because of what he's seen out of me in the past, and you know, I'd like to think I lead by example first and foremost, and that can't change. You know, if anything, that kind of puts a bit more pressure on you to play well and be across your detail. You know, if people are coming to you, you know, wondering about the game plan or whatever, just to be really, really sharp on those things that you would be anyway. But you know, obviously make doubly sure that you are now.
And does your talking have to change, given the fact that you're not just a player now, you're a captain? Maybe as a player you might have contributed more. As a captain, do you have to kind of speak less, if you understand, to make sure that when you get the message across, it's a pointed message?
I haven't overly thought about it, because I'd like to think when I do speak, it is taught true, and it's a serious point. Yeah, I suppose nothing too drastic has to change. I think you try your best to remain yourself, and you know, you've probably seen it before where, you know, captains probably feel under pressure to say things, and you know, it probably gets diluted because they're talking quite a lot. So yeah, just if you're like when I'm a player, I think you really think about what you're going to say. If you have a point, you make sure you have a reason for talking, and it's clear and precise, because you know, people are going to be listening to you. So yeah, I don't think much has to change. You just got to make sure you've thought out what you're going to say.
And just a final question from me: can I ask you about the people on the other side of the fence in the Springbok camp? You've worked really closely with Razzie, with Jack, with Felix Jones in the past. I mean, what do they bring in terms of their dynamic to what you're going to face in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, work with them all. I think, you know, they're a formidable coaching side. You know, what they've done over the past couple of years with South Africa, obviously winning the World Cup, has been really impressive. I think from watching them in the World Cup and having played with Munster under them, you know, there are similarities in what they were doing, what they were showing. So yeah, there'll be areas like that you know, you have a little insight into, but you know, everyone's doing analysis on each other. You know, everyone knows each other as well as they can. But if there's something that, you know, pops into my head that I remember about a certain way, you know, Jacques or Razzie was wanting us to play with Munster, and we see it in the South African side, then that might be a little insight. But at the same time, you know, with Felix there, he's a guy who's always thinking about different things, and you know, you got to be prepared for surprises, and you know, you don't always get what you expect when you run out into the pitch from the opposition. You know, you have to be quite adaptable. So yeah, it's a bit of an insight, I suppose, having worked under them, but at the same time, it could be completely different.
Thanks. Enjoy the experience. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Cheers. Thanks.
Hi Conor, how's it going? Sinead here. Congratulations. You said there you touched base with some people from home. Did you contact Paul O'Connell, and did anything stand out for you about his advice?
I haven't had a phone call with any of those lads yet. I just a text to say congrats, and that they'd be at the end of the phone if ever I needed anything. But it was more of an encouragement, I suppose. You know, just most of them said just keep doing what you're doing. Don't overthink it, and you know, lead by example. You know that would be the worst thing that could happen, is to start overthinking this and trying to change as a person and a player. Would be probably dangerous to yourself. So they were just really encouraging words, and obviously said, you know, if there's anything that crops up that you want to run by them, they're at the end of the phone. And I think you probably will be speaking to them over the next few weeks, just if you know, if something comes into your head, just to run it by someone with that experience and get a sound word of advice.
And you mentioned it there. Is the trick now in this new role to not allow it overwhelm you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's definitely taken a few days to kind of process it and let it sink in. And now that it's pretty much sunk in, it's I'm really excited by it because, you know, you've been around the lads now over 2 weeks, and there's a really good vibe in camp. You feel comfortable with the boys around you. There's great leaders already in the squad. So, you know, if it was different, if they're, you know, if it was a quiet group or whatever, you'd feel a little bit more pressure, but I really don't. I'm really excited by this challenge. I think it's a massive honor to be able to do this, and I want to make the most of it. You know, you got to be excited by these things, and I certainly am.
And just finally, have your teammates treated you any differently since you got the news?
Yeah, unfortunately, just they don't call me by my name anymore. It skips for the moment, so I'm trying to get rid of that one. But no, they've been brilliant. That's another thing that put me at ease. Obviously, on Saturday night with Al and Tips losing out through injury. You know, once Warren said that I'd be taking over as captain, everyone came up and said congrats, and you know, you could feel that they meant it. So it's great to have that kind of support of your fellow players. I think that's probably the most important thing, is, you know, that they're supporting you, and you know, everyone is digging in now. It's getting serious, so everyone's working really hard. And you know, again, I go back to saying there's a really good vibe in camp.
It's kind of a follow on. Hi, Conor. All that, even from the Irish captains of Brian, Paul, Peter recently, that, you know, you could get overwhelmed by history and looking back at what they did and ringing them and texting them, but this is about your history now, and this is like a blank page. I mean, it's important to do that for you. Yeah,
I've thought about that. Yeah, it really is. I think, you know, those boys are there, and they have their style, and I've utmost respect for all of them. But you know, it goes back to not changing what you do or who you are. I think that's really important. You remain true to yourself. And I sound like a broken record, but Warren chose me because of what he's seen out of me in the last 2 tours, and obviously how I played a game. So that's got to be, you know, top of my list, is that I don't try and change. You know what I mean? That's when it gets dangerous, and that's where you probably start to get a little bit distracted if you do try and change. So yeah, it's again, like you said, it's a clean sheet, and it's the way I do it now. But again, those lads are there at the end of the phone if anything crops up or I'm thinking about something. But no, like you said, yeah, it's a clean sheet for me.
Just apologies for being green tinted, but the last few Irish captains didn't have the ultimate success. It's been a while since there has been one. So you'll be defined by the result of this series. So talk about that, just in terms of being maintaining the process and trying not to worry and hoping that you will be a victorious captain.
Yeah, that's the thing, not trying to be distracted by that. You know, I'm thinking about training this afternoon, and what we got to get right for the weekend. I'm really not thinking about, you know, yeah, I suppose when you're back in your room and you have a quiet moment, you might drift off and think of what it would be like to win a series, and that's the goal. That's the squad goal. Players are preparing, you know, to go to battle and try and do that. But you know, we're all experienced enough and professional enough to know, you know, it's about the next step and the next day and the next session, and who you're trying to play at the weekend, and what you're trying to achieve. You know, we're trying to get better. You know, we showed some really good things against Japan, and you know, we showed some things of a side that are quite new together. So there's plenty to work on for us this week, and that's what it's going to be like leading up to the test game. So yeah, you can dream about the end result, but you know, it's definitely day by day.
Hey Conor, Nick Simon here from the Mail. Did you stand up in front of the squad on the plane or at the airport or anything like that and deliver a kind of start of tour speech, rallying cry kind of thing? And what messages will you be giving to the squad as an overarching message? Robin McBride before was speaking about a siege mentality based on the sacrifices everyone's made to come into a kind of lockdown in South Africa.
Yeah, no, not yet. I think, you know, that's probably been said already by Al at the start of our camp, and I think, you know, the mission plan has been clearly identified, and I think everyone has a really good understanding of what we're trying to do. Yeah, I agree with Robin in terms of the sacrifices that we've all made to get here. and leaving loved ones at home. Again, very lucky to be able to do this still. It's a strange one to describe, but no, I think the mission is really, really clear in players' heads. And I think, when you pick your times to speak, again, going back to what I said, you've thought about it and you make sure that it's a point you really want to get across. But again, loads of experience in the squad. I think all the players know what we're trying to do here, how we're trying to play. People are really busy working in their mini groups. There's an awful lot going on. So you got to just be really careful about when you pick your times to speak or deliver a message like that. But like I said, a lot of that has been said at the start. When we met up in the Lensbury Hotel in London a good few weeks back, we spoke about it there, and we spoke about it in Jersey, and now it's kind of about getting down to work and working really hard with each other and for each other.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.